Here we go. Hey, Nos Game Ray. Welcome to Pickle Splash number 3. I forgot how many I've done so far, and forgive me for being a little excited this time, but we're adding the last game to the PAL Sega Saturn set, which means we'll have a full set of discs for the system that were released in Europe. I've got a few that we didn't get in the UK as well, but this is going to be the final one, making the full, complete Sega Saturn set. I get to tick that last game off the list after all these years, and then move on to the next set of games. We've also got some more Switch stuff this time, as that seems to be dropping a lot in price. Get on Amazon, guys, that stuff's quite cheap. And as always, because I've got a lot of love for this little machine, we've got some more Evercade stuff. Hopefully I'll have a bit more time for it this time round. So let's unwrap some games, start playing, and just finish this beautiful setup. Oh, where did I put it? That way.
And that last game, ladies and gents, is Galaxy Fight. Now, I could have had this years ago, but there were so many better fighters around at the time. I was playing Street Fighter Alpha or Virtua Fighter, Tekken, Darkstalkers, anything else like that. Capcom had me round their little finger with 2D at the time. So Galaxy Fight passed me by. As you can see, the disc's nice and minty and very expensive. So, you know, if you want to play this, import it. It's a lot cheaper. The manual's absolutely lovely. So let's see why I didn't play this years ago. I know the reviews are pretty average, but it can't be that bad, can it? Released all the way back in 1995, Galaxy Fight was a port of the Neo Geo arcade original game of the same name. It was a very faithful conversion of it at that, missing absolutely none of the characters' backgrounds or hardly any of the animation frames. It was very close to Neo Geo original. Unfortunately, the game's mechanics and gameplay are what let it down. The combo system is very flawed. The AI of the opponents is absolutely dreadful. You could set this to very easy and spend 20 minutes getting past the first character as he constantly kicks your ass. So learning the moves is essential to playing this game, because if you don't, they're just going to wipe the floor with you over and over again. The game truly has the widest selection of intergalactic misfit beaten up reject characters you've ever seen in your life, and it only gets better the more you get through the game, as you'll come across the first bonus stage. It was a punch bag called Bonus. The only bonus of this being is you get to wipe the floor with Bonus really easily, as he's quite easy to defeat compared to the other opponents you've come up against so far. A few more opponents after that, and you're pitted against a little rabbit here called Yokopu that can morph into you and kick your ass really quick if you're not careful. A little like Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat, which is quite useful for you, as kicking the rabbit is really difficult. On a whole, Galaxy Fight is a great port of the arcade game. It's very close to the original. It's just very lacking in the combat department when it comes to combos and gameplay. As well as that, the PAL version of this game is ridiculously expensive, so if you want to try it out, I suggest you import the Japanese version, as it's a lot cheaper at the moment. Next up we have the Disney classics Aladdin and Lion King 16-bit versions on the Nintendo Switch. This is an emulation or a port of the Sega Mega Drive / Genesis versions of Aladdin and Lion King from the 1990s that we all played when we were kids. So that should be interesting, as I played the SNES version instead. As always, inside the box we get nothing but fresh air and a cartridge, which is really disappointing when the box is transparent. So, having played the Super Nintendo version of this when I was a child, which was a completely different game to the Mega Drive version, I never really got that kind of attachment to this one, so let's drop it in the Switch and see what we get. So the first thing that really did impress me over the SNES version with this is just how much closer it is to the original source material. Characters, the sprites, the backgrounds, all the set pieces look like they've been lifted directly from the movie, and the Disney involvement really does show through. The gameplay is much better as well. I can see myself just sinking my teeth into this right to the end of the game, but just like every other player, I did get to the magic carpet part of the game. Without using save states, I don't think I'll be able to get past this, but I didn't get to the end of it. So moved on to the 8-bit version, which is included as a bonus, which is nice. It's a cut down version of the same game. I didn't get too far into this because 8-bit music just drove me mad on this particular game, but it's not bad. Also on here we have the 16-bit version of Lion King, which I think again is the Mega Drive version of the game. There is an enhanced version as well. I didn't have a look at that one. I'm not brilliant at this because I never did play it the first time round, and I got about a little way into the second level here and got stuck in the trees with some monkeys. but I'm going to have a play with this. It did seem a lot of fun what I did play. There is an included 8-bit version of this as well, but just like Aladdin, don't expect much. It's cut down and it's a little slower, and those chip tunes, man. But to be fair, wait till December when we get the definitive edition of this containing the SNES versions of Aladdin as well as Jungle Book and all the ports of that as well, so it's worth waiting. This isn't really worth the money it's going for. Next up we have Balan Wonderworld on the Nintendo Switch from Square Enix. Now I was drawn to this by the front cover because it looks very, very Sega, very nice. And then I found out Yuji Naka was involved, so I had to buy it, and it's absolutely dirt cheap on Amazon, guys. Check it out at the moment. It looks very, very Sega, very 90s. I got a really sort of Billy Hatcher / Knights vibe from this, just looking at the case itself. On the inside we get a nice invitation to something, and some lovely artwork from the game's designers there. Lovely. Now, according to the back of the case, Leo and Emma are led into Wonderland by the mysterious Balan. They must journey through 12 dreamlike stages, discovering over 80 different costumes, to find a way to bring balance to others and to themselves. True happiness is an adventure. Or is it? Well, if your version of Happiness is a game that looks like it's lifted straight from 1999, from the Dreamcast or PS2, then you would be right. This game doesn't look great, it doesn't run great, but it plays like a very, very old school platformer. You run around, collect power-ups, change your form to give yourself different abilities to open doors and progress through the game, etc. There's over 80 of these to collect, and I mean, I'm only a little way into the game so far, and I've discovered about 8 or 10, and already I'm noticing some crossovers on the abilities, so the limitations there are already showing. Some of the abilities are pretty cool, like here we get to be a jellyfish so you can traverse the maze of platforms that otherwise you'd only be able to jump on top of. The game seems very, very stuck in the early generation of platformers. It's got a really sort of Sega feel to it. I don't know whether that's Yuji Naka's involvement in the game or not, but it seems like it's got a little bit of Sonic Team's character in there. But unfortunately the game just is very flawed on the Switch. I don't know about the other formats. It suffers massively from some frame rate issues and lots of other graphical glitches. Here in the lobby you've got like a very similar to Sonic Adventure Chow Garden system here, where you feed the little Tims some gems and they unlock stuff in the lobby for you. The boss fights look like they've been lifted straight from a Sonic Team game, but just missing that lick and polish to keep you wanting to play it for long enough. It's not a bad little platformer, average at best, but worth the money because it's under 15 quid on Amazon at the moment, so snap it up if you fancy a blast on a cheesy little old school platformer. The final Switch game we have here is Sonic Colors Ultimate, which is a port of the 2010 Wii original game, which was probably one of my favourite games of that console's life cycle, and possibly one of the best Sonic games to come out since the Adventures. I really genuinely mean that. This game doesn't have the glitches, it has some really straightforward, nice Sonic style gameplay, and it's done quite well considering. Let's just hope this port's done justice, because a box full of fresh air as usual really disappoints me. So let's get this stuck in the machine and see how it fares up today. While our little blue friend here hasn't had the easiest of rides when it comes to games in the third dimension, all the way back in 2010 Sonic Team got one of those games right when they released Sonic Colors for the Wii. Fast forward to 2021 and we get the HD re-release of Sonic Colors for all major formats, and it does look like it's upscaled really, really nicely. The controls seem to work really tight, and there seems to be no glitchiness so far. And considering this is a port of a game that's over 10 years old now, it really does look nice on a high-res screen. The details in the backgrounds on these speedy sections, particularly here, do just tend to pop out at you now. The 2D, as always, is chalk and cheese with most players, but in Sonic Colors it's not so bad. It does have a little bit of a strange jump mechanic, but after a few tries you've got your head around it and it's not too much of an issue. The colour powers really do add to the game as well. Here you can see me using, I think it's the lightning power, which lets you ping through the crystals. It's a good way of breaking up the levels. It doesn't slow you down too much, it just gets you thinking on your toes, which I think is quite nice. It doesn't overtake or overpower the gameplay in any way. Some of the sections, again returning to this one, just look absolutely breathtaking even after all this time, and with minimal improvements to the graphics. Sonic Colors was a flipping good game when it came out on the Wii, and if you'd lost faith in the franchise and really want to try everyone out, try Sonic Colors. Just might cheer you up a little bit. It's not as crap as the other games. For the final game this Pickups Blast, we have EverK cartridge number 19, Codemasters Collection number 1, containing Cannon Fodder, which is one of my all-time favourite 16-bit games. This cartridge comes crammed with absolutely smeg loads of games. I think there's 17 included on here. So we're going to try and have a little gameplay from each and every one of these games. I can't promise we'll have a chat about them all. Some may be scrolling across the top at the moment because 17 games is a lot to cram into the last few minutes of this video, guys. So let's see what we get inside the box. As usual with these EverK things, the beauty of these is they always come with a nice instruction manual, which I really do like. Looking on each page, there'll be a nice spread on each game. Kind of fun, I love it. Tennis All Stars looks quite nice. There's a very glossy, nice little manual here. You don't tend to get this in many mainstream releases for the Switch and PlayStation nowadays, so it's always good to see a manual in the box. And nice colourful one at that. Plenty of games on this cartridge. Ooh, bit of Evercade Versus. We'll be getting one of those soon. Definitely. So let's pop this in the machine and start playing some of these games. First up we have the game everybody secretly loves more than FIFA. It's Sensible Soccer. This is the Mega Drive version of the game ported to Evercade. I've got fond memories of playing this on the Amiga 500 when I was a kid with family and friends, and I'm sure it's going to play just as good as it always did. Next we have a game called B52, where the idea of the game here is to collect pollen from various flowers while avoiding garden insects, make your way back to the hive, deposit that pollen and fill the honey pot. A very simple premise, but gets very tricky after a few levels. I did enjoy playing this one and intend to spend some more time with B52. The second Sensible Software game included on this cartridge is probably one of the granddaddies of the genre. It's Megalomania, an RTS strategy game from the early 90s, originally released on the Amiga 500 and then later ported to the Mega Drive. This looks like the Mega Drive version of the game, which isn't so bad. It looks nice and it sounds great too. Next we have an 8-bit shooter called F-16 Renegade. It's a nice little standard 2D shooter. It's very difficult. I didn't get past the first level here, but the second level plays a little like Afterburner, and then it's back to 2D again, so it's a nice little game to play. And next up we have another game that started out life on the Amiga 500 that was later ported to consoles. We have Super Skid Marks, an isometric racing game similar in vein to Super Off-Road Racer. This is the Mega Drive version here. The controls are very twitchy, so just be warned. It's a good racer though. Cosmic Spacehead is an interesting mix between platforming and point-and-click adventuring, where you play as Cosmic on your quest to prove to everybody that you've been to Earth by going to Earth and taking some pictures and then taking them home. The story is pretty straightforward, the platforming is even more straightforward, but the point-and-click puzzles and the tasks you have to do are a lot of fun. Getting rid of this guy at the roadblock, it may not seem like a great thing, just giving him a balloon to float him away, but it took me so long to get there that it was more satisfying than it looks, and it's worth checking out. Linus Spacehead is on here too. This one's a straight up platformer this time round. Linus has crashed his ship on Earth and you must explore to find parts for your radio to fix it so Linus can phone home. Just simple platforming action. Now we move on to the third Sensible Software game included on this package, and possibly my favourite game to play on here, the awesome 16-bit action strategy shooter, Cannon Fodder. Again, the Mega Drive port of the Amiga version of the game. I did play this to death back in the day on the Amiga 500. It's a simple point-and-click interface where you just control a squad of 4 grunts and tell them what to do, what to shoot at and what to kill. The objectives are relatively straightforward. Most of the time it's just kill the enemies or blow up the spawn points. And war, ladies and gents, has never been so much bloody fun. Now a game that really did surprise me is the Ultimate Stuntman. This game's great. It starts off as a little action racing shooter here, where you just kill the enemies, dodge stuff and get to the end. There's a nice little boss fight when you get to the end where you have to take on this blue truck which is sort of throwing everything it's got at you. Then it's into a 2D run and gunner, which is great. Jumping around on the platforms, dispatching the enemies. It's a great mix of genres, nice little 8-bit game, lovely soundtrack, nice sound effects. Can't fault it. One of the better games in the package. Even Big Nose the Caveman's here. Never heard of him? Neither have I. Big Nose the Caveman is on an adventure to collect all of his bones because someone's stolen them. So you take Big Nose on a perilous adventure over pits and killing dinosaurs on a hunt for bones. He also returns in Big Nose Freaks Out, where once again Big Nose freaks out and goes off collecting bones on a mad rampage of bone collecting, until, like me, you reach this point in the game where it turns into Big Nose Nightmare Game. And the cartridge kind of goes a little bit wacky on you. I'm not sure if it's a glitch or the game was supposed to be like this, but I'll tell you what, if it was supposed to be like this should be called Big Nose's Nightmare, because it's rather freaky and the weather in Big Nose's land isn't too great. The final game is Psycho Pinball, a Mega Drive pinball game that really reminds me of Digital Illusions' Pinball Dreams and Pinball Fantasies games on the Amiga. The music on this level just for some reason really reminds me of a certain Disney film. I'm not sure why, but it's not a bad little game. There's some great little ball physics in there. There's some cool little mini games included as well, which I didn't get any footage of, but they are menacingly difficult. There's even an option to switch them off, but a great pinball game nonetheless, and it does look great on a small screen too.
So we've reached the end of another Pickups Blast. This one's not been quite as big as it was last time, but trust me, I've got a lot lined up for the next one. All that remains to do now is to thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done already, and share so we know more people can see what I'm getting into the Knots Cave. The one last thing we need to do before the end of this video is just pop this into the PAL set so we have that lovely complete collection. I've been Knots Gamer. This has been my Pickups Blast number 3. Take care guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.